Let's get something straight from the start. Confidence is not about the loud voice, the expensive watch, or the way you walk into a room with your chest puffed out. That's theater, that's performance. Real confidence lives in the private moments, the ones nobody sees except the person you're truly intimate with. And one of the most telling signs of that real confidence is a man's ability to step beyond the lines society has drawn for him, to do what he wants to do and what his partner needs him to do, without worrying about judgment, image, or outdated ideas about what a real man should or shouldn't do. Think about it. For decades, male sexuality has been painted as a one-way street. Take, not give, dominate, not share. Show power by being served, not by serving. That narrative has been drilled into men from locker room conversations to toxic media portrayals. And here's the thing. Many men secretly live under the weight of those rules without even realizing it. They measure their masculinity not by their capacity to create pleasure, but by how much control they can exert. But when a man steps outside of that mold, when he confidently engages in giving without any shame or hesitation, he's sending a message far louder than any posturing ever could. I know who I am. I don't need to follow your rule book. I don't need validation from men who live in fear of vulnerability. That's confidence at a level most men never touch. See, a man who is secure in himself doesn't ask, "What will people think?" He asks, "What do I value? What does my partner need? What will make this experience unforgettable for us both?" That's a different lens entirely. And it's a lens most people never get to look through because they're too busy performing for the crowd. Now you've probably noticed society rewards male bravado. The guy who brags about his conquests gets the laughs, the approval, the social points. But here's the irony. Most of those same men operate from deep insecurity. They want to appear dominant because, deep down, they're terrified of being seen as less than. They fear the judgment of other men more than they desire the satisfaction of the woman in front of them. That fear cages them, even if they pretend to be free. A man who confidently goes down on a woman, without hesitation, without insecurity, is stepping out of that cage. He's saying, "I'm not here to meet the expectations of some imaginary panel of judges. I'm here to connect, to give, to experience without shame." And that attitude is magnetic because it's rooted in true self-assurance. Let's be honest. This act has been stigmatized, joked about, even weaponized in conversations about masculinity. You've heard the remarks, the sideways glances, the mockery. And yet, when you strip away the noise, the reality is that it takes far more confidence to give openly than to simply take. Taking is easy, taking is primal, giving especially in a way that requires presence, patience, and vulnerability demands security in yourself. You can't fake it. You can fake charm, fake bravado, even fake generosity in public. But in the quiet intimacy of the bedroom, when there's no audience, no applause, no Instagram filter, you are revealed. And in that space, your partner sees who you really are. Here's what I've noticed about confident men. They are explorers. They're curious not just about the world, but about the person in front of them. They're not afraid to venture into unfamiliar territory because they trust their ability to navigate it. And that curiosity drives them to learn what their partner responds to discover the details that create deep pleasure. This isn't about the physical act alone. It's about what it symbolizes. It's about a man who knows that his masculinity is not fragile. He doesn't need to cling to outdated definitions to feel whole. He can take part in something that older versions of manhood might have dismissed, and instead of feeling emasculated, he feels empowered. Some of you might be thinking, why make such a big deal out of this? It's just sex, but that's the surface level view. If you stop there, you're missing the deeper truth. This is about identity. It's about whether you let culture dictate your actions or whether you live on your own terms. When a man chooses to prioritize his partner's pleasure, in a way that society has often told him is unnecessary or even weak. He's making a statement: I am not ruled by fear. I am not ruled by the opinions of the crowd. I am ruled by my own principles, my own desires, my own understanding of connection. That's the kind of man who doesn't get swayed easily in any area of life, whether it's business, relationships, or personal growth. Confidence is about comfort. If you are uncomfortable with vulnerability, you will always hide behind masks. You will always need to prove yourself in loud, performative ways. But the man who can confidently give without worrying about looking too soft is a man who doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. And here's another layer. This act is not passive. It's not simply doing something for her. It requires engagement, attention, reading subtle cues, and being present in the moment. That's not weakness, that's skill. That's mastery of presence. Presence is something women notice immediately. A man can be physically there but mentally absent, rushing, distracted, checking out mentally the moment he's not the center of attention. But a confident man knows how to stay anchored in the moment, focused entirely on the experience he's creating. That level of focus tells a woman, you matter, your pleasure matters, I'm invested here now, and investment builds trust. Once trust is there, the connection deepens, and once the connection deepens, attraction takes on a different dimension. It moves from surface level to something magnetic and lasting. This is why I say confidence is proven in the quiet acts, not the loud ones. Anyone can flex for the crowd. Few can give fully, without reservation, in the intimate space where ego has no stage to stand on. The truth is, women can sense insecurity a mile away. If you're hesitant, if you hold back because you're worried about how it makes you look, she will feel that hesitation. She may not say it out loud, but it will register he's guarded, he's holding back, he's not fully comfortable with himself. That seed of doubt can grow over time, and it's the opposite of attraction. On the flip side, when a man is unapologetic about the way he gives, that confidence radiates into everything else. It says, if I can be this secure in a space where most men feel awkward or ashamed, imagine how secure I am in every other part of my life. That energy is intoxicating. It's the difference between someone she enjoys being around and someone she feels drawn to in a way she can't explain. And here's the part most men miss. It's not just about her experience in the moment. It's about the lasting impression you leave. A man who can confidently cross that line without apology, without shame, leaves an imprint. She remembers it, not just as pleasure, but as proof that she was with a man who doesn't operate by fear. That memory lingers, and once a woman has experienced that level of confident giving, she will always compare others to it, whether she admits it or not. Now, let's flip it for a moment. Imagine the opposite, a man who refuses, who hesitates, who makes excuses. Even if he's amazing in other areas, that refusal plants a seed. Why is he afraid? What's he protecting? What's he so worried will be taken from him? That's not the kind of question you want echoing in her mind. The bottom line is this. Confidence is revealed when you stop trying to prove your manhood and start living it. You live it when you act without fear, without seeking permission from outdated standards. You live it when you can step into vulnerability and turn it into power. So what does this mean for you? It means you have to ask yourself whether you've been performing confidence for the world or actually living it in private. Whether your masculinity is something you constantly guard or something you carry effortlessly. Because here's the truth, when you can show up in that intimate moment with complete security in yourself without holding back, you're not just giving pleasure, you're giving a statement that says, I am a man who knows who he is, who owns who he is, and who doesn't fear connection. And that kind of man is rare. That kind of man is unforgettable. That kind of man doesn't just take the stage. He owns it even when there's no audience. So remember this: the loudest confidence is silent. It's in the acts that no one sees but the one who matters most. If the first sign of confidence is the ability to break free from society's scripts, the second is knowing how to read a person beyond the surface. And in intimacy, that's everything. Emotional intelligence in the bedroom is just as important, if not more important, than physical technique. Think about it: you can know every move, every so-called trick, but if you're not tuned into your partner emotionally, you're playing a song without listening to the melody. And what's worse, you're missing the point entirely. Pleasure is not just a physical sensation, it's an emotional experience. The body doesn't exist in isolation from the mind and heart. When a man understands this, he changes the entire game. He stops seeing intimacy as a checklist and starts seeing it as a conversation, one without words but rich with meaning. Every sigh, every shift, every moment of hesitation is a sentence in that conversation. Most men never even hear it because they're too focused on getting it right instead of being fully present. A man with emotional intelligence doesn't just perform, he responds. He can sense when his partner is holding back, when she's opening up, when she's nervous, when she's craving more. He's not just there to do something to her, he's there to share something with her. That's a massive difference. And this is where the deeper psychological truth comes in. Women remember how you make them feel far longer than they remember what you did. A man who understands the connection between physical touch and emotional trust doesn't just create pleasure, he creates safety. And safety is the foundation for desire. You see, the brain is the biggest erogenous zone. If a woman's mind isn't relaxed, if she doesn't feel valued, respected, or desired for more than her body, she will not be able to fully receive what you're giving physically. Her body follows her mind follows her emotions. So if you don't engage her emotions, you're never really touching her in the way that matters most. But here's where most men go wrong. They assume emotional intelligence is simply about being nice or gentle. That's not it. It's about being attuned. Sometimes emotional connection means slowing down and giving reassurance. Sometimes it means reading her cues and intensifying the experience because you can sense she's ready. It's about having the sensitivity to notice and the confidence to act accordingly. This kind of presence requires you to set aside your ego completely. If you're too wrapped up in your own performance, wondering if you look good, if you're doing the right move, or if she's impressed, you can't truly connect. Your attention is divided, and divided attention always breaks intimacy. An emotionally intelligent man is not trying to impress, he's trying to connect. That difference is felt instantly. A woman can sense when you are there for the shared experience versus when you're there to feed your own image. And here's something most men underestimate. Women crave being understood as much as they crave being desired. When you understand her moods, her rhythms, her energy, you're not just another man in her life. You're the man who gets her. That's rare. That's the man she thinks about when you're not around. That's the man she compares everyone else to. And emotional intelligence doesn't switch on only in the bedroom. It's cultivated in everyday interactions. The way you listen to her when she talks about her day, the way you notice when something's off, the way you remember small details she mentioned in passing, all of that builds trust. And that trust translates into deeper openness when you're intimate. When you carry emotional awareness into physical intimacy, you create a feedback loop of connection. You notice her needs, you respond in a way that makes her feel seen. She relaxes and opens up more, which gives you more to respond to. That's how you spiral upward into deeper pleasure and stronger bonds. Now, let's go deeper into why this matters psychologically. Human beings, especially in intimate contexts, are constantly scanning for signs of safety or threat. For women, this is especially heightened due to both biological and social conditioning. If she senses disinterest, selfishness, or a lack of presence from you, her guard will go up. And once that guard is up, the experience will never reach its full potential, no matter what you do physically. On the other hand, if she senses genuine care, curiosity, and attentiveness from you, her nervous system relaxes. That relaxation is what allows pleasure to grow exponentially. Without emotional safety, pleasure plateaus. With it, pleasure expands. You can't fake this. You can fake charm, fake confidence, even fake affection for a while. But in the heat of an intimate moment, your emotional presence, or lack of it, is crystal clear. If you're there to check a box, she'll feel it. If you're there to connect, she'll feel that too. And here's the paradox: the more emotionally present you are, the more physically passionate you can be without it feeling disconnected. Because she's not just feeling the touch, she's feeling the intention behind it. That's what emotional intelligence does. It gives meaning to the physical. This is why men who are emotionally intelligent in intimacy tend to be remembered, even years later. It's not always because they had the most skill or the most experience. It's because they made her feel something she couldn't find anywhere else, the rare combination of being desired and understood at the same time. And let's address a reality here. Some men fear emotional intelligence because they equate it with weakness. They think being attuned to emotions means being soft or submissive. That's an outdated view. True emotional intelligence in intimacy is strength because it requires courage. It requires vulnerability. It requires you to risk being fully present without hiding behind the armor of detachment. Most men hide. They stay on the surface because it's safe. They keep the emotional distance because they fear rejection. But the man who's willing to be fully engaged, to actually feel along with his partner, is the man who will experience the richest rewards. And yes, that means you need to slow down sometimes. It means you pay attention not just to what you want in the moment, but to where she is emotionally and physically. It means you're willing to adapt instead of just plowing ahead with your own plan. That adaptability is a sign of security. Only an insecure man insists on sticking to his script no matter what's actually happening. I'll give you an image to hold on to. Imagine intimacy like dancing. Anyone can memorize steps, but only a few can feel the music. When you feel the music, you stop thinking about the steps. You move in sync, you anticipate each other, you improvise when the rhythm changes. That's emotional intelligence. When a woman feels that from you, it doesn't just enhance the physical moment, it builds anticipation for the next time. She knows you're not coming in with a one-size-fits-all routine. She knows you'll meet her exactly where she is. That anticipation is powerful and it's addictive. So here's the real takeaway. Being emotionally intelligent in intimacy is about listening, not just with your ears, but with your eyes, your hands, your intuition. It's about reading the unspoken and responding without hesitation. It's about prioritizing connection over ego, presence over performance. If you can do that, you will not only create unforgettable experiences, you will build a kind of bond that's almost impossible to replace. And in a world where so many people are disconnected from themselves and from each other, that's the ultimate advantage. Because in the end, the physical fades from memory, the emotional doesn't. People forget positions, techniques, even specific sensations. But they never forget how you made them feel in the moment they were most vulnerable. That memory becomes part of how they see you. So the question you have to ask yourself is this: when she thinks about you later, not just tomorrow, but years from now, will she remember you as someone who simply did things to her? Or as someone who truly connected with her? The answer depends on your emotional intelligence. And that, my friend, is entirely within your control. When you truly understand the emotional connection behind intimacy, the next layer is this: the act of giving pleasure selflessly, without any hidden agenda, is not weakness, it's strength in its purest form. I know that sounds counterintuitive to a lot of men, because we've been conditioned to think strength is about taking, about being in control, about having the upper hand. We've been taught that the one who receives is the one with the power, but real power is the ability to give without fear of losing something in return. You see, insecurity always measures the if I give this much, what will I get back? If I make her feel this good, will she do the same for me? If I show her too much care, will I look desperate? That's fear disguised as logic. That's the ego setting conditions on intimacy. But when you're secure in yourself, you operate from a completely different place. You don't keep score. You're not worried about being taken advantage of because you know you're in control of your own choices. You're not giving from emptiness, hoping to be filled. You're giving from overflow, and that overflow is magnetic. It tells your partner that your pleasure in giving is not a transaction, it's an expression. It's not a tactic to get something later. It's an extension of your character right now. That level of selflessness is rare, and rare is valuable. This is where so many men misunderstand dominance. They think dominance is about making someone submit, but true dominance starts with self-mastery. If you can't master your own ego, you're not really in control, you're just performing control. And nothing exposes the truth faster than the private moments when no one's watching. When you're selfless in the bedroom, you're not abandoning your needs. You're showing that your needs are not threatened by prioritizing someone else's. You're saying, I'm so secure in my worth that I can give you the spotlight without feeling smaller in the process. Most men never reach that point because they fear the spotlight will never come back to them. That's scarcity thinking. It's the belief that intimacy is a pie, and if she gets a bigger slice, you're left with less. But intimacy doesn't work like that. When you give fully, the connection expands. There's more for both of you. Think of it like a fire. You don't make the flame weaker by lighting another candle. You multiply the light. A selfless lover understands that. He's not afraid to ignite someone else's fire because he knows his own flame isn't going anywhere. And there's something else. Women feel the difference between a man who gives to manipulate and a man who gives because it's who he is. Manipulation always leaves a trace of tension. It feels forced. It feels like an unspoken demand. She might appreciate the act, but she won't feel safe in it. But when your giving is truly selfless, it creates a completely different emotional atmosphere. She relaxes. She opens up, she trusts, and when trust is there, passion doesn't just increase, it becomes exponential. You can take her further than she's been before, not because you've learned some technique, but because you've removed the invisible walls that keep her from going there. And here's the part most men underestimate. Selflessness is actually the fastest route to selfish reward, not because you're keeping score, but because genuine pleasure is contagious. When you take joy in her joy, when you make her feel valued and desired without conditions, she naturally wants to give back. That's not manipulation, that's reciprocity born out of genuine connection. This is why I call selflessness a form of strength. Weak men give with resentment. Strong men give with abundance. Weak men hide behind ego. Strong men know their ego can step aside without losing its place. And this mindset carries beyond the bedroom. A man who knows how to give selflessly in intimacy is usually the same man who can lead without dominating, protect without controlling, and love without suffocating. Because the principles are the same: confidence, abundance, and trust in your own worth. Now, let's address the elephant in the room, the fear that being too giving will make you look desperate or turn you into a doormat. That's only true if you don't have boundaries or self-respect. Selflessness is not about erasing yourself. It's about being so rooted in yourself that you can pour into someone else without draining your own well. If you're giving because you're afraid they'll leave otherwise, that's not selflessness, that's insecurity. But if you're giving because it's an authentic expression of your nature, that's power. Here's the psychological layer. When you give selflessly, you're breaking the pattern of guardedness that most people carry into intimacy. You're saying, this is a space where you don't have to hold back because I'm not holding back, and human beings mirror each other. If you drop your armor more often than not, she'll drop hers. When two people meet without armor, that's when you see the most powerful, transformative intimacy. That's when you both walk away from the experience not just satisfied, but changed. You feel more connected, more alive, more grounded in who you are. And let's not forget the long game. Selfless giving leaves a mark. Long after the specifics fade, she will remember the way she felt valued, prioritized, safe, and desired. Those are not feelings people forget. Those are the feelings that build loyalty and deepen attraction over time. On a philosophical level, selflessness in pleasure is an act of rebellion against the transactional nature of modern relationships. We live in a culture where everything is about exchange. I'll do this for you if you do that for me. That mindset might work in business, but it kills passion. Intimacy isn't supposed to be a negotiation. It's supposed to be a celebration. And celebrations aren't measured in equal portions, they're measured in impact. A man who gives without measuring is remembered without question. So ask yourself this: when was the last time you gave without thinking about what you get back? When was the last time you poured yourself into the moment simply because you wanted to? If the answer is rarely or never, then it's time to rewire your thinking, because here's the truth: if you're afraid to give selflessly, you're still letting your ego run the show. And the ego will always tell you to protect, to hold back, to keep something in reserve. But what it's really doing is keeping you from the richest experiences life and love have to offer. Once you experience what it's like to give without fear, you'll understand that selflessness is not a loss. It's the most direct route to connection, and connection is what keeps relationships alive. Without it, passion becomes routine, and routine becomes indifference. The men who understand this are the men who women talk about with a certain tone in their voice, the tone that says, "He was different. He wasn't afraid. He gave without hesitation." That tone isn't created by physical skill alone. It's created by the energy you bring into the act, and you control that energy entirely. No one can stop you from giving without fear except you. So here's the choice. You can keep playing the guarded, transactional game and hope for deep connection, or you can step into the rare space of abundance and see what happens when you lead with selfless strength. Because in the end, the men who give the most without fear are the men who are remembered the longest. And being unforgettable is the truest form of power you can have in someone's life.